We've all seen this image of the Dark Souls Remastered cover, a knight lighting a bonfire. But who is he? Some lesser people may say that it is Oscar from Dark Souls 1, but they're wrong. This is John Dark Souls, and in this video, I will be attempting to beat Dark Souls Remastered as John Dark Souls. Now, for the rules of the challenge. I am only allowed to use the equipment John Dark Souls has on the cover, that being the Elite Knight armor set, the Astora straight sword, and the crest shield. Once I get the equipment, I'm not allowed to use anything else. For example, once I have access to the Elite Knight set, I must use the set, even if it's too heavy. Other than that, I must kill all bosses, including DLC bosses, glitchless. That's all for rules. On to the run. I picked the Knight class for my starting class, purely because it looks very similar to the final John Dark Souls build. I also picked the Master Key as my starting gift to get the equipment I need as soon as possible. Something weird I noticed is that by default, the Knight class starts with a heavy load, which is weird because a new player will have a terrible experience playing the game because they'll think that fat rolling is normal. Anyways, I dodge this boulder and find, wait, who is that? An imposter. Thanks for the key, but I'll be back later. I fall on the Asylum Demon and smack his buns until he dies. I get yeeted by a bird and make my way to Lordran. At Firelink, I take the elevator down to New Londo and walk up these stairs to go to the Valley of the Drakes. Here, I pick up my weapon for the run, the Astora straight sword. I head further down the valley and take another elevator, this time taking me to Darkroot Basin. I picked up the nearby Grass Crest shield. I know that this is not the same as a crest shield that John Dark Soul uses, but for now, I'll be using it until I get the proper one. When recording this run, I was a bit rusty, so I practiced my parrying on this Black Knight. Unfortunately, no halberd. I go deeper into the basin, and use the Master Key to open up Havel's tower. I want to kill Havel for his ring, which gives me 50% more equip load. Considering I was already fat rolling in the Knight set, Havel's ring is a requirement for the Elite Knight set. My strategy for killing Havel is to bait out his attacks and then backstab him. Repeat this for like 5 minutes and then he dies. Next, I go to the Hydra and pick up the Knight set, thinking that was the Elite Knight set. Then I remember where the real Elite Knight set is and go to Darkroot Garden to get it. On the way, I kill this Crystal Lizard for 2 Twinkling Titanite. I pick up the Elite Knight armor set, and luckily for me, I can medium roll in it when unequipping my shield with Havel's ring. I run to the Undead Parish and find Andre. I try to upgrade my weapon, but I don't have enough souls, so I go further into the Undead Parish to get some more souls, where I find a Vagrant. I get enough souls to upgrade my weapon to +1, then I take the elevator shortcut back to Firelink and take the normal route to Undead Burg. I run past all the enemies in the area to fight the first boss of the run, besides the Asylum Demon of course, Taurus Demon. I started the fight by climbing up this ladder to take out the 2 archers. Then I aggroed Taurus Demon, climbed all the way back up the ladder, and plunged attack him, taking out a large chunk of his health. Then I slashed at his knees, dealing pretty good damage until he died. Wow, the Astora straight sword is pretty good. Surely it's gonna be this good the entire game. After Taurus Demon, I make my way back to the Undead Parish because I forgot to pick up the basement key. I use the basement key to go to the lower Undead Burg. I burn these dogs with fire and kill these assassins through the door. I also get the sick triple kill. Man, the Astora straight sword is pretty good. I hope it doesn't have the worst fall off imaginable. Up next is a Capra Demon. Since I don't have a shield, it's kind of scary, but I managed to run up the stairs, killing one of the dogs. I try to plunge attack the Capra Demon but miss, and while I was down here, I wind up killing the other dog. Now, it's just me and the Capra Demon. Since I don't have light roll, the recovery takes so long that he could roll catch me with his 2-hit combo. So, I had to bait out his attacks and attack him while he was recovering. Using this strategy, I kill the Capra Demon on the first try. After Capra, I go back to the Undead Parish, where I go upstairs and get ambushed by hollows. I try to kill the Channeler, but he ends up falling down. Well, I guess I'll get him next time. I go to Lautrec and use a Master Key to free him. I go higher up the Undead Parish and onto the roof to fight the Bell Gargoyles. I manage to cut the tail off the first gargoyle, getting it below half health and making the second gargoyle join the fight. I get the first gargoyle to 1 HP, but unfortunately he jumps away before I can kill him. I quickly get overwhelmed by both the gargoyles putting pressure on me, and I die. My second attempt was much better. I get another tail cut and get the first gargoyle below half health. I was really surprised with the damage I was doing. From experience, the Astora Straight Sword is a terrible weapon, but for some reason, it's doing solid damage to these early game bosses. I sure do hope that this weapon doesn't fall off. Once the second gargoyle spawns in, I play a bit more carefully, waiting for one of the gargoyles to be stuck in their fire breathing animation while I focus on the other one. Using this strategy, I'm able to take out one of the gargoyles, and the second gargoyle quickly follows. Killing the gargoyles allows me to climb up this ladder and ring the Bell of Awakening. After ringing the bell, I head back to Firelink to greet Lautrec by kicking him off a cliff. When reloading the area, I'm able to loot the Ring of Favor off of his dead body. I run all the way back to the lower Undead Burg, where I use the key I got from Capra Demon to open the door to the the deep. Using the Master Key, I unlock the bonfire and head deeper into the depth. I get poisoned by some rats, kill these 3 big rats, and the channeler so he doesn't shoot me later. Further in, I get attacked by a very large rat and die to poison trying to escape it. I make it all the way back to where I died, and go fight the Gaping Dragon. He starts the fight by slamming down, giving me an opportunity to hit his head for extra damage. Then, he charges at me, so I avoid him by running to the side and behind him, where I start attacking his tail. After a few hits I get a tail cut. Fighting the Gaping Dragon is simple. If he's upright, stick to his tail, but if he slams down, quickly run to his head for extra damage. At this point I noticed that the damage of the Astora Straight Sword was starting to fall off, and I'm worried what the damage will look like in a few bosses from now. I circle the Gaping Dragon for a couple of minutes, and the Gaping Dragon goes down. I homeward bound out of the boss arena, and make my way to the back entrance of Blighttown. In Blighttown, I get the average Blighttown experience by instantly getting toxic, and panicking trying to find a bonfire. This is probably a water's wet take, but I think that the Quelaag boss run back is really bad. Unless you have really high poison resistance, you're always going to be poisoned right before fighting Quelaag. Anyways, I thug it out and fight Quelaag while poisoned. Who needs Estus anyways? I really start feeling the lack of damage here, only doing around 67 damage per hit. While fighting, I actually learned something new about Quelaag. If you stand in her armpit, or a spider armpit, she can't hit you with her sword. So I get her into a loop where I penetrate her a few times, and then run away when she's about to blow. Nothing else really happens in this fight. She just has so much health that it took a couple of minutes before I finish. I go deeper in Quelaag's domain, and ring the second Bell of Awakening, opening up the gates to Sen's Fortress. While I was in the area, I go into the Demon Ruins to get some free souls. I pick up this cool armor set, but for some reason, this large man gets angry at me. I get scared and run away, but got stopped by the fog wall. Luckily for me, my pursuer trips, giving me an opportunity to push him off a cliff. Easy 20,000 souls. I make my way out of Blighttown, poisoned of course, and take the elevator shortcut to the Undead Parish. But halfway up the elevator, I jump off and climb this tower. I curl up into a ball and get eaten by a bird again. Back at the asylum, I trade a moss clump for a twinkling titanite to upgrade my sword. I go to the side area where I first got my equipment and parry this black knight to death. He drops the black knight sword. I move deeper into the asylum and see him, the imposter. There can only be one John Dark Souls. After killing the imposter, I get the crest shield, completing my build. I go down this hole, parry another black knight to death, and I pick up the doll. Next I fall down this pit and fight the stray demon. For this boss, as long as you don't get hit by his magic attack, you're good. A common strategy for killing stray demon is to just stand behind him. This puts him in a loop of only doing his magic attack, meaning that you can hit him a couple of times and run away when he does his attack. After a few minutes, the stray demon goes down and I return to Firelink. Next, I take the elevator to Undead Parish again. This time, I go to Sen's Fortress. I run past all the enemies, breaking this guy's ankles. I jump over this pressure plate, but still somehow end up activating it, and run my way further into the gauntlet until I make it to the top, where this giant starts throwing bombs at me. I quickly drop down this ledge to rest at the bonfire. I go higher up Sen's Fortress, going up these stairs to kill the bomb-throwing giant so that he doesn't annoy me while fighting Iron Golem. Speaking of Iron Golem, he's up next. A pro strat is when Iron Golem is doing his range attack, if you stand behind one of these pillars, it will always hit the pillar instead of you. I run up to him and start slashing his ankles, but he quickly picks me up and throws me off the bridge. Okay, let's try that again. I stand behind the pillar again and start slashing his ankles, and get grabbed again? This time he spared me and doesn't throw me off the side. After I take about a quarter of his HP, I stagger him, but unfortunately he doesn't fall off the side, but I still do get in some decent damage while he's down. At just under half HP, I stagger him again, and this happened. I've never seen this happen before, so it's kinda cool. But what's not cool is that when he came back down, he knocks me off the ledge with his leg. Okay, third time's the charm. I staggered him a couple of times, and on the third stagger, when he was just a few hits away, I managed to knock him off the edge. Cool. I get kidnapped by some demons, and they take me to Anor Londo. I go down this elevator, and walk up this thing, then I get greeted by some painting guardians, managing to get one of their swords. For the rafter section, what I like to do is stand on this area here, and hold up my shield. Standing in this position for some reason makes the painting guardians jump at me, making them fall to their death. At this elevator staircase thing, I get jumped by a gargoyle. I run up this big staircase and try not to get shot by the archers. I parry the Silver Knight and reach the bonfire. I do the skip where you jump off the staircase. I know I said in the challenge rules that I wouldn't be using glitches, but I don't see this as a glitch. It's a feature. If the devs didn't want us to do this, they would have added an invisible wall. Up next is Ornstein and Smo, and oh, that's not a lot of damage. Maybe I should upgrade my weapon before doing this. So I go farm some enemies around Anor Londo for a bit, and then go to the giant blacksmith, who sells twinkling titanites for 8,000 souls each. After a bit of farming, I managed to get my sword to +4. Honestly, I was too lazy to get it to +5. Time to attempt Ornstein and Smo again. That's significantly better damage. I played phase 1 very patiently, just running away and dodging their attacks, until Ornstein does his dash attack. Then I get a couple of hits in, then run away again. Since I do so little damage, and on top of that, I'm also medium rolling, I really didn't want to die and lose all my progress. In hindsight, I definitely could have played this a bit more aggressively, which I did start doing at the end of phase 1. Once I get to phase 2, the fight becomes much more manageable. I baited out Super Smo's attacks, then attacked him. Standard stuff. After a while, Ornstein and Smo go down, on the first try. Kind of. I go meet, who gives me the Lord Vessel, which I place on this thing to give me access to the 4 lords I need to take down. I decided to get Lost Izalith out of the way first. Since I already killed Ceaseless Discharge, the lava is already gone, allowing me to traverse the demon ruins. I drop down this ledge so that I don't have to fight any of the enemy spam Capra demons, and kill this weird worm thing that's guarding the bonfire. I fight the demon Fire Sage. He's just a reskin of the Stray Demon. He has the same moveset and everything. he's just red now. So I use the same strat I did on Stray Demon, where I smack his butt over and over. Honestly, if I wasn't doing an all boss challenge run, I would skip Demon Fire Sage and just go directly to the Bed of Chaos. Speaking of bosses I would skip, up next is the boss from Night Rain. I jump over these gaps and make it to the big safe area to fight him. Unfortunately, on my first attempt, I die to jank, so I have to spend more time in this area. I go to the safe spot again and start slashing him, and he eventually dies and drops the orange charred ring, which allows me to walk on lava and take reduced damage, which would have been really useful before the fight. I go to the Fair Lady and offer 30 humanity to open the shortcut to Bed of Chaos. The Bed of Chaos fight starts off well. I easily break the left side and then quit out to reset my position back to the fog gate. Then I quickly go to the right side and break the other thing, then quit out again. I try go to the middle, but die on my way. Epic. I run all the way back to the Bed of Chaos and manage to make my way to the center and kill the Bed of Chaos. And of course, die right after. Next, I decide to go for Nido. I run through the catacombs and make it to Vamos. I don't know why I decided to visit Vamos, like I won't be using him, but I guess it's good to have the bonfire, just in case I die to Pinwheel. Who knows, I might actually die to him. It's been a strange run. I go back into the catacombs and manage to get lost. The item I'm looking for is deep in the catacombs, and unfortunately, I've never actually explored the catacombs before. I find a Black Knight and he drops his great axe. Man, I'm getting really lucky on this run. I finally find the place I'm supposed to go and pick up the Dark Moon Seance ring. Really, the only reason I wanted this ring is to join the Dark Moon Covenant, because I still need to get the achievement. Also, the Gwendolyn fight will look much better in the daytime, because you, the viewer, would have a harder time seeing what was happening in the dark because of YouTube compression. By the way, kill Pinwheel and get the Mask of the Child if you're curious. I go into the Tomb of the Giants, and somehow, a sunlight maggot appears on my head. I don't know how that happened, but I find Patches, who kicks me down a hole. And I fight the Wave White people. I go back to Patches, and for some reason, he's angry at me, so I kill him too. It's been a while since I've last been here, and I get lost trying to find the bonfire, and end up dying. I finally manage to find the bonfire, and run all the way to Nido's boss arena. I drop down the pit, and die to fall damage? So I run all the way back to Nido. I don't get why FromSoft made it so you have to take fall damage every time you fight Nido, because even after not dying to fall damage, I enter his boss fight with only 2 Estus flasks. But it doesn't really matter, because Nido isn't that hard of a boss. I know I've been hating on the Astora Straight Sword, but the Nido fight is like the one time it's actually useful. Since it is technically a divine weapon, it can permanently kill the skeletons in the Nido fight. But even still it's not that useful, because Nido just kills the skeletons with his attacks anyways. My strat for killing Nido is to stand really close to him. Most of his attacks don't hit you when you stand inside of him. When he is charging up to explode, I run away as far as possible, making sure I don't aggro the giant skeletons. Nido quickly goes down, and I acquire my second Lord Soul. Next, I decide to do the 4 Kings. Since I'm cheap and didn't want to spend 20,000 souls for the Crest of Artorias, I decided to go to the back entrance of Darkroot Garden. I kill the Hydra that was causing me trouble in the beginning of the run, and climb this ladder. I've never actually been this way before, and it's a pretty cool area. What's not cool is this giant cat that attacks me. I barely manage to outrun him, and make my way to this really big door. Behind it is a gravestone, and when I walk up to it, it activates a boss battle. I was at a severe disadvantage, because I went into the boss fight with only 2 Estus flasks, but I was doing a surprising amount of damage to Sif. Sif can't reach me when I'm underneath her, so I stay there and attack her. If she ever jumps away, I run straight below her again and start attacking her. At around half health, I run out of Estus flasks, forcing me to lock in if I wanted to kill Sif. Suddenly, I became a god at dodging Sif's attacks. I got into a flow state of dodging attacks until she was just a few hits away from death, but then I die. On my run back, I free Dusk from the Crystal Golem, since I was in the area, and it saves me some time later. Looking back on my first attempt with Sif, I don't know why I didn't just use humanity to heal. I literally had them on my hotbar, but instead of doing the smart thing and pressing down on the D-pad to switch to them, I guess I decided I wanted to do the entire run back and fight Sif again. This time I managed to take her down and get the Covenant of Artorias ring. I return to Firelink and take the elevator down to New Londo. I run through the ruins, enter this house full of ghosts, and climb up the chimney to talk to Ingward, who gives me the key to the seal. I use the key to the seal to drain the water out of the area, and go down this elevator to reach the lower level of New Londo. I make my way to the Four Kings fog wall, remember to equip the Covenant of Artorias, and drop down into the abyss. I was really nervous about this fight. The Four Kings are known in the community as a DPS check, and unlucky for me, I barely do any DPS. My first attempt ends quickly. The first king explodes and I get knocked into the second king. The second attempt goes much better. I manage to get the kings to about a quarter HP, but then I get overwhelmed by the kings. And I had many attempts after that, but didn't see nearly as much success as that run, usually only getting to about half health before I die. The problem is that as soon as the other king spawned in, it instantly started to attack me, so I decided to take a break from the Four Kings and take care of some other things I forgot to do. First, I execute the Fair Lady for her Firekeeper soul. Then, I go to Anar Londo and kill this horde of painting guardians. I place my hand on this painting and enter the painted world. I run through the area until I find the undead dragon. If you stand between his fingers, he can't puke on you, and you have enough time to run away from his swipes. Once I kill the dragon, I run on the bridge where he was, and jump on his detached butt. This causes it to float up, allowing me to drop down, skipping a large segment of the painted world. Up next is Priscilla. After a few hits I do enough damage to knock her out of invisibility, which I'm surprised I could do with this weapon. I also managed to get a tail cut, which is cool, even if I won't be able to use a dagger. She jump scares me when she's at 1 HP, because blood loss procs, but I quickly run to her and get the final hit in. I take the plunge and go fight Gwendolyn. My first attempt was going well, until it wasn't. My second attempt went much better. The entire Gwendolyn fight is just running down the hallway, dodging one of his 3 attacks, and getting in a couple of hits when you reach him. He easily goes down after a few teleports. The last of the cleanup bosses is Moonlight Butterfly. I was so overleveled that it was a joke. I spent like a minute waiting for it to perch, and then easily one-cycled it. I next decide to go to the Duke's archives. I run up this staircase and ride up this elevator, then kill this random crystal guy blocking the stairs. I go past this fog gate and meet Seath. He manages to curse me after I die, which sucks a lot. I wake up in a prison cell and stab this guy through the bars to get the key to my cell. When I escape my cell, this strange looking snake man starts playing some music. I run down this spiral staircase, where I get penetrated by a tentacle woman. Once I make it to the bottom of the stairs, I climb up this ladder and turn off the music. I escape the prison and make my way back to the library. I run up these stairs, then rotate them. Then fall on these stairs and rotate them. And just like that, I made it to the bonfire. I warp back to Firelink and run to the female undead merchant to buy a purging stone. Making you spend 6,000 souls every time you get cursed is really annoying, especially because when you first encounter Seath, there's like a 50% chance of you getting cursed. Anyway, I run into the crystal cave and fall to my death. This run through goes much better. I make it to Seath's boss arena. As soon as the fight starts, I turn around and break his crystal, severing his ties to immortality. Then I run up to a Seath sack and start smacking it. After a bit, he starts charging up his huge explosion attack, so I run away, but not far enough, so it hits me. I go back to hitting his special area, but then he hits me with his laser, and I get cursed. Right after I just cured it. So I go all the way back to the undead merchant and buy a whole bunch of purging stones. The funny part is that I didn't even need to buy that many purging stones, because on my next attempt, I killed Seath. All I did was smack his gooch and avoid his crystals until he died. Not much strategy involved. I put them off for long enough. It's time to do the Four Kings. I drop into the abyss, and Oops, I forgot to wear the ring. This time I remembered to put on the ring and drop into the abyss. I quickly run over to the first king and start slashing him. Unfortunately for me, he does his exploding attack right away, and I couldn't get out of its range in time. I continue hitting him, trying to avoid rolling whenever I can to conserve stamina. When the first king got around a quarter of HP, the second king spawns. Thankfully, he ignores me until I kill the first king. I start whittling down the second king's health, using the same strategy as the first one. At just under half health, the third king spawns in, with the fourth king spawning in just a bit later. Luckily for me, they don't attack me until I'm done with the second king. I take so long to kill the third king that the fifth king spawns in, and by the end I see the rare sixth king. Just like that, I've acquired all the Lord Souls onto the DLC. I get the silver pendant from the Duke's archives and go back to where I saved Dusk to get grabbed into the DLC. Every time I play Dark Souls 1, I always forget how hard the DLC is. The bosses move way faster than any of the bosses in the base game. Not only that, but they hit like a truck too. Sanctuary Guardian easily took me down within seconds. It took me a couple of attempts to realize what I was supposed to do in the fight. My strategy was to run away from his attacks and wait for an opening to attack. The openings are after his wind attack and after his long combo. The running away part of my strategy was really difficult because of my medium equip load. His combos were just too fast that I couldn't roll fast enough to dodge them. So there was like a 50-50 chance that I either could start running away from his combos, or if I happened to stand too close to him, if I tried running, he would just hit me. Early on in the fight I get poisoned, which is really annoying, but I powered through, waiting for opportunities to attack, and managed to beat him. I enter Ulasil proper, run past all these pitchfork guys, and the cool moment with Calamite gets ruined by this random guy. I cross the bridge, and I take this elevator down, and talk to this Bloodborne looking fellow. I entered the Artorias boss fight without resting at the bonfire, because I just wanted to test the waters. I dodge his opening attack, and the follow-up by simply just moving to the side. We traded hits over and over again. He flattens me like a pancake and punishes me while I'm still on the ground. I barely manage to escape his attacks and heal up, quickly avoiding his jump attack. Eventually he rolls away and starts powering up. I was unsure if my weapon could even do enough damage to knock him out of it, but thankfully I could after 3 hits. The back and forth continues, but then he scares me by hitting 2 successive attacks, but thankfully whiffing the 3rd hit, even though I was standing still. Eventually, Artorias begins powering up again, and once again, his plan fails and I knock him out of it, for some easy damage. Shortly after, I use my final Estus flask without even realizing it, causing me to do this. I learned from my past mistake on Sif, and switched to my humanities. I thought it was safe to use a humanity, but Artorias does a move I've never even seen before to stop me. We start trading hits again. I regained my confidence after learning just how many humanities I had, and no longer feared running out of healing. Artorias powers up again, allowing me to get free hits in. Artorias manages to roll catch me, and I try to pop a humanity to heal, but this ends up locking me in place, allowing for him to get the final hit on me. That was better than I expected. I really should have just rested at the bonfire. Anyways, the second attempt was more of the same. There was a moment near the end of the fight where I was on 1 HP, and that was a real clincher. But I managed to take down Artorias, and can move on to the rest of the DLC. After Artorias, I enter the Ulasil township, and man, these enemies are tough. I take this alleyway, and somehow another sunlight maggot ends up on my head. I don't know how this keeps happening. The light from the maggot reveals a hidden doorway. A chest inside this room has a silver pendant, which will come in handy later. I cross this bridge with the sorceress shooting at me. I try to kill her, but end up dying a goofy death. I made it past the bridge and into this house with a lot of residents in it. I run upstairs and parkour into this room to kill this mimic for the crest key, which will also come in handy later. I run out of the house and get the shortcut back to the bonfire. I dodge all the casters and pass the prisoner until I reach the elevator. Pro strat, if you quit out at the elevator, you won't get jump scared by the guy. You know the one. Anyway, I travel down into the dungeon and into the cavern of the abyss. I run past all the humanities and into the fog wall. I get grabbed by a hand and thrown into the Manus boss fight. It starts off by Manus instantly flattening me, and when I try to heal, he does the same move, but somehow, I manage to roll just in time to avoid it. I manage to avoid his grab combo, but he instantly starts another one as soon as I try to punish him, leaving me on 1 HP. He kept beating me up until I got stun locked by 3 quick successive attacks. Okay, maybe I'm not ready for Manus just yet, so I go into this valley and fight my way past the dogs, where I see Calamite flying in front of me. I get so scared that I turn around and run away. I go to the Colosseum where I fought Artorias at and climb up the stairs. At the top of the stairs, I find this door locked behind the crest key. I told you it would come in handy. In this locked room, I find Goth. I talk to him, and the hardest cutscene in all of Dark Souls plays. After Calamite is shot in the wing, I'm able to go back to where I saw him flying and climb down this really long ladder into the ravine to fight him. He starts off by doing his stinky fire breath attack, allowing me to get a couple of hits in. And oh man, this is gonna be a long fight. He flies up into the air. I get disoriented and try to run towards his tail, but I take too long and get blasted by his fire breath. He quickly hits me while I'm trying to heal, but then I recover and start slowly chipping away at his health. He manages to grab me with his tinnitus attack, then does his lunge attack shortly after. I haven't fought Calamite that many times, so I'm not used to his moveset, and I thought it was like Midir, after every attack he rests, but I quickly learned my lesson. He soon kills me. I had many attempts after this. Here's a highlight reel. This may just be a skill issue, but I couldn't beat Calamite at this level. I mean, I probably could if given enough time, but because real-world time restrictions exist, I just don't have enough time to thug it out. I hate having to do this, especially in a challenge video, but I warp to the painted world and start farming these spear guys. After a bit of farming, I was finally able to light roll using Havel's ring. Hopefully this will be enough to get me through Calamite. He starts the fight again by doing his fire breath attack, then instantly does his grab attack. You know, I never actually knew what his grab attack does. Like, I know he marks you with a Sims icon, but it isn't clear what it actually does, because there isn't any icon below the health bar saying what it does. Maybe that's just me. In hindsight, it's pretty obvious that it makes you take double damage, especially since Calamite drops a Calamity Ring, but I still didn't realize until looking at the wiki. Anyways, my strat for Calamite was to stay by his side and try to get him to constantly do his stomping move. This makes sure he stays in place, allowing me to get consistent hits in. I repeat this for a few minutes, and Calamite goes down. All that is left in the DLC is Manus. The addition of Light Roll makes Manus a lot easier to deal with. But still, I always manage to get hit by his grab attack. When he adds magic to his moveset, I whip out the silver pendant I picked up earlier. When using it, it reflects magic. I narrowly manage to dodge his shotgun blast, which is really lucky. He does his magic attack where he makes a circle of dark orbs around me, and I use my silver pendant to delete them. I instinctively try to switch back to my Estus right after, and he does the attack again. I keep hitting him, until he eventually goes down. The DLC is officially completed, and the challenge is almost over. I return to the base game, and put the Lord Souls into the Lord Vessel, and enter the kiln of the first flame. I run past the Black Knights, and remember something. All the way back in the beginning of the game, I killed Oscar for his crest shield, and for some reason, I forgot to equip it until now. This doesn't matter because it's a John Dark Souls build, and not an Oscar build. Who knows what shield it is? It could be any crest shield. Anyway, I equip the crest shield and enter Gwyn's arena, and start parrying. Gwyn eventually goes down, and I choose not to link the first flame. John Dark Souls still has some work to do. Thanks so much for watching. If you made it this far in the video, make sure to like and subscribe. I plan on doing more Dark Souls challenge videos, so if you don't want to miss them, please subscribe! I plan to do the John Dark Souls run for each game in the trilogy. Next one is going to be John Dark Souls 2, but before then, some other runs are going to be uploaded. Anyways, that's about it. Bye bye!